let's talk about how and what's the role of environment to develop fluency in second language reading. So we will consider some of the debates both in favor and against of developing appropriate environment for developing fluency for second language readers. Well, environment of course plays its significant role in terms of developing fluency, and the very name of Pression comes to mind. Pression argues that conducive environment, appropriate environment is all the more important to develop students' speaking and listening skills because it gives comprehensible input to the students. But there is little research which favors this argument that environment specifically is important for developing second language reading. For example, SLA research, second language acquisition research, suggests that one person may live in a native country. For example, when I was in England, I have observed some people who have migrated there have spent 10 years or 15 years there, but even then they are not fluent readers. So this argument is like that environment, especially in first language, is not all the more important to develop fluency in second language reading. So what is important is that environment of course can help develop listening and speaking skills, particularly speaking skill, but it has little relevance to develop fluency in second language reading. What's important is that we need to ensure, we as language teachers need to ensure that our students are given books, materials, internet resources. Well, this is important, internet resources, and this has finished the differences between one setting and another setting. For example, there are plenty of materials, tons of thousands of materials available on the internet, which people are reading in Spain and which people are reading in Japan or in Pakistan. So the availability of online texts has almost finished the differences in L1 environment setting and L2 environment setting. So what is more important is just to, as language teachers, this is our main responsibility to give maximum exposure to the students and let them read books which interest them. And in order to develop fluency, what's needed is to give them a maximum quantity, both extensive and intensive reading, and this can make them automatic in terms of word recognition, in terms of understanding the syntax and complexity of the grammar. So our role as language teachers is to give students texts which are rich and which are according to their level. Well, one thing is important, that we shouldn't expose the students the books which are far above their grammatical or lexical competence, because what happens if they are exposed, if the books are far higher than their level, the students might be thrown back to the translation process, or they might be struggling and they might think of consulting the dictionary. So well, there are, of course, differences in vocabulary knowledge and sentence pattern in both L1 and L2. For example, the sentence structure and vocabulary patterns in Urdu is different from that of English. So this can create some problems, and this is our job as language teachers to facilitate students. And there could be some cultural attitudes. For example, some students may not be ready to read books which are culturally too different from that of the first language. So this is our job to bring in materials which interests our readers and which give them appropriate exposure. So as through this comparison between first language and second language environment, what we have gathered is that that environment in L1 environment may not be that much helpful as exposure to the books is more important and more helpful.